All right, I think we're live, probably, hopefully. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody joining in. Thanks for joining our product updates September 2024 edition. I apologize in advance. I already see like a red Wi-Fi icon next to my image there. So if I break up at some point, JB, you're gonna have to step up and carry the show from there.
Absolutely.
Um, Before we get started, one thing that we like to do here is on the right hand side of your screen, you should be seeing chat a chat tab. One thing we like to do at the start of these is just hear where everybody is tuning in from. So if you have a couple minutes, just go to chat and tell us where you're tuning in from today. We love to see where our customers are calling in from. And I see Michigan, Sweden, Idaho. Okay, okay, we have a US EMEA split. Spain, good. Love to see it. Georgia, Finland, Hamburg, Germany. Nice. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We have a cool agenda for today, and we hope you enjoy. But yeah, before we get into the main topics for today, I just wanted to introduce our two amazing speakers. And yes, I referred to myself as amazing here casually. But my name is Alex Cardwell. I'm the director of product marketing here at Supermetrics. I've been at Supermetrics for 3 years. It will be 3 years on Friday. So really enjoyed the ride here and do a lot of our product marketing related content, such as our product update webinars. And I'm joined today by the one and only Jonathan Butler. JB, you want to say hi to the people?
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks, Alex. Yeah, great to be here today, guys, and really good to see such a great turnout already as well. So really looking forward to kind of chatting with you all today. Yeah, so as Alex said, so cordially, yeah, my name is Jonathan Butler. Yeah, I'm more formally known as JB. So that's kind of nicknames kind of followed me around my whole kind of career. So it's probably not going to slide away anytime now. So I'm one of the directors of product over at Supermetrics. I sit on the side of the data integrations group. If you had the pleasure to be on the last webinar, you'd have spoken to my counterpart, Walter, who's the product director over the platform maps team. So I've been Supermetrics not too long, so since about May time now. So I think I'm coming into my 5th month. Yeah, great ride so far, great people, great company, great products, great customers. So yeah, really looking forward to being here today and telling you about all the exciting stuff we've got going on.
Good stuff. And JB, yeah, you haven't been too long, but you've already made an impact. So that's what counts.
Whether it's good or bad, who knows, right?
All right, and before I get into the agenda, still one last bit of housekeeping. We will be using the Q&A section of the tab. You probably also see a little kind of Q&A, these chat bubbles, um, on the side of your screen there. If you have questions on anything you see or hear during the session, be sure to drop in questions there because it also allows other people to upvote them, allows us to answer them a lot more smoothly. So questions we prefer to have in there. I think the team might even be shutting down the chat tab after the intro here. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk about today's agenda. So today we have two main areas that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about data in and data integrations. So a couple updates on how you actually get data into Supermetrics. And that's why it's great to have JB here today, as that's the part of Supermetrics that he heads up. We're going to talk about new connectors. Obviously, a lot of you that have been using Supermetrics for a longer time now will be familiar with our connectors. We're going to talk about some updates there, but we're going to also talk about some other ways of getting data in, including our new custom data import functionality, as well as connector builder. Then we'll talk about platform and apps. We're going to talk about some updates to the roles and permissions and workspaces functionality that we've been working on, some updates to our data transformations capabilities, as well as a quick update on Google Sheets functionality at the end. And then, of course, hopefully we'll have time for some dedicated Q&A at the end. But again, at any point during the session, if you hear or see anything that you want to ask a question about, drop it into the Q&A tab so that we can pick them up as we go along as well. And I see marketing ops already put in a question or more of a statement that this is the Q&A section. Hopefully you see that. Cool. All right. Well, with that out of the way, let's get into the first topic, which is updates to our data source connectors and newly released data sources. JB, why don't you kick us off with this one?
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks, Alex. Yeah, so obviously everyone knows us Supermetrics is kind of, what we do, the bread and butter, right? Getting data from, from A to B in the form of our connectors. That's never going to change. We're always going to be able to expand our horizons in terms of the breadth of connectors that we offer. And, we're always going to want to have a specific focus on the categories that we actually serve in, within these spaces as well. So as you can see here, big categories that that they're actually looking to invest in and will continue to kind of evolve in these areas. E-commerce and CRM, we start to implement the likes of Lazada, and obviously WooCommerce, which was probably the last webinar as well. So making really good progress there. Across the paid media space, really great to see Nielsen and Xander across the line as well. We've just released Reddit ads as well. So there's a lot of great stuff there that we're actually getting to work with as well. Analytics side, you'll see the Google Play console there. Again, a great addition. Obviously, we need to twin that up with the Apple App Store. That's going to be coming hopefully within Q4. A little bit of complexities in terms of getting that over the line, but that's something that the team are hard work at right now. And again, with social media, it's really good to see Sprout and obviously YouTube within the mix there as well. So again, just to kind of kind of thicken up, the actual connector breadth that we have there as well, and really good to see these out.
Yeah, and like I said, this has been our bread and butter for a long time, and obviously this is an area that we will continue to invest into in the future as well. Always remember that if there is like kind of a pre-built data source that you really want, or some marketing platform that you're really using and you don't yet have available in Supermetrics, feel free to ping either our support team or our product team at product@supermetrics.com. We always like hearing suggestions from customers on what we should build next. And actually, if you're thinking of something right now, you can even use the Q&A tab and just type in what you're using and hit enter. We'd love to grab some of those from this session as well. But like I mentioned there at the top, while pre-built data sources and these data source connectors are things we've invested into heavily and that we will obviously continue to develop in the future, we're also looking at releasing and are releasing new ways of bringing your data in and working with your marketing data. And the first kind of concrete version of that is what we're calling custom data import. So custom data import is essentially a new way that you can bring in any type of marketing or customer data into Supermetrics and query that alongside of the rest of your marketing data. So JB, again here, maybe you want to share a little more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, and that's the thing, we feel and understand that, having the availability to data and obviously where you kind of have a lot of your data within these different platforms that you work to is of utmost importance. At the same time, we can kind of build as many connectors as we can, but there's some platforms that we just can't build connections into. Maybe they don't have open access into the data. They don't have a clean way of transporting that data through the API, for example. So we've always wanted to give you additional capabilities of getting that data elsewhere, be that offline data that you can export through, through different like data exports and imports through CSVs. And this is exactly kind of where that product comes in as well. So within this, we're going to have the custom data import functionality. We previously called this file import. Some of you might have heard that term being thrown around before now. We actually recently changed this over the past few weeks to custom data import because we really wanted to take away the attachment that all the data is within a file format. And we want to make it clear that, for however you want to transport your data, wherever that data exists, if it can't be accessed through a standard connector, we should have the ability of getting that in some way, shape, or form. So whether that be pulling data from websites, be transporting data through webhooks, or simply importing data through files or manual uploads. So we hope that this kind of reflects the actual the actual value of just getting your data wherever it sits into the platform. So as you can see here, we've got 4 different steps in terms of kind of what we kind of treat within this flow. So we have the ability to configure the source. So that's going to be where the actual data exists. We'll have the ability to then configure what that file looks like. So what is the structure of this file? How can we actually map the fields accordingly, which makes it easy for you to then query against that data. then how do we then send the data across? That's going to be in the terms of the automated scheduling, the frequency of updates and things like that. And then again, you'll have the ability to then unlock new use cases by having that data available within the actual destination platform as well. So I'll go ahead, I'll share my screen, I'll show you a little bit of a demo of kind of what it looks like as well. So you can actually be able to get a little bit of a taste of kind of what to expect soon. Right. Okay. Alex, my screen visible?
Yes, indeed.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So yeah, so like I said, custom data import. So we set up a couple of examples earlier. Effectively, what we're kind of talking about here is we just have the ability to actually go through and actually create various different imports. So for now, we are just focusing on file because that's one that we've initially built. But again, like I mentioned, we are going to be focused on different import sources. That's going to be things like Google Sheets, webhooks, SFTP locations, and things like that. So that's all of the good stuff that's due to come. So if I actually want to create a file here, so I've just got an example file here called offline store demo. So offline store demo is a simple CSV of just offline purchases that I've got through a fictitious store, let's say. Once I actually import this into the platform, I'm going to then see a preview of that data. So this is the actual structured data format that I've exported from my actual store data, of which the POS systems or the different ERPs that I might have been actually connected to have actually gave me access into that information. I can actually then play around with the different data points here, so I can actually change what the delimiter might be based on what the structure of the file would be. You can actually then change if there's headers in the actual file itself, and whether the headers are actually within the assumed first row. We can go ahead and we can refine that data. Now, this is where we're getting a bit clever. So we're able to actually kind of assume the different data types as part of this import. So we've got the likes of date. We're able to infer that date type and actually show you a bit of a preview of actually what's in the file itself. We can show you different examples of the actual campaigns, and again, just different preview of the snippets here. We can actually allow you to actually play around with this as well. So if you actually want to do a little bit of transformation on that as well, you actually can start to do that within here as well. But we also do have other capabilities such as custom fields, which allow you to do that as well. And then again, we've got the likes of sales prices, and we can actually work out exactly what the actual different examples are. Then we can go through and we can set up the actual future imports as well. Now, what that would then happen is we'd actually have the ability as to where you can actually take this email address. You could actually then put the email address into your source platform where this data is being held and actually set up an automated push into this email address. We then pick that up, download the attachment, we'll run that through our system, and we'll make it then available within the connector, which you can then use. And how do you actually add the data as well? So it's up to you. We can actually append and duplicate data depending on, if this is just a kind of, if this is a weekly refresh, but it's a monthly export, you have the ability to append and actually then deduplicate based on the common key. And then we've got the append only as well. Oh, if you just want to do a complete refresh, again, that's completely up to you. Once it's then available, you can actually then play with this just as if it's actually just a complete different data source. So we can actually run custom data import. You'll actually then be able to select the report configuration is actually going to be the file name. So for example, we actually have offline store demo. You'll then be able to split out by the metrics here. So we can have the likes of the campaign, the product, and then we'll be able to select out the metrics as well, which is obviously the sale price as well. Now, we do actually run this once a month. Once a month. We actually run this a couple of times a day. But because I've just actually uploaded it, we don't actually have the most recent running of this now. So I can't actually show you the live data, but we can actually see that the actual statuses as they come through now when they're actually getting processed. So if you were to click into monitoring for the offline store demo, you can actually see that we've actually got the configuration, and then this runs twice a day to actually sync in with that as well. So hopefully that was a good little demo into that as well, and kind of show you kind of what to expect with the actual custom data import functionality.
Good stuff. And the on that note, actually, let me share my screen again here. So on the front of custom data import, I mean, it's the exciting thing here is that it allows us to start working with kind of maybe non-traditional data sources or non like sources that aren't online. So think offline media, out of home media, these types of sources that you're working with. It actually provides the bridge that you need to be able to combine kind of offline and online media. So with that, actually, one thing that I wanted to mention is this feature is, I think it's going out in beta, if not, today, then in the next few days or weeks. And if you would be interested to take it for a spin, we're gonna put a poll up in the polls section right now that's going to ask if you'd like to get access to better access to data import. So feel free to. Oh, actually, I even see it on my screen now. Can I say yes?
Yes,
I
sir.
can.
Yes,
So, so if you want to take it for a spin, raise your hand here, and we'll be in touch on how to get access to it.
amazing. Yeah, and
Perfect.
it's going to be so it will be going out on Friday. Yeah, so it should be in beta, ready to go Friday. We've got a couple of different skins that we're doing, and things like that. Yeah, so we should be good to go soon.
Cool. All right. Now, for some reason, I can't. I can't share. Here we go. The poll was taking up my screen, so I wasn't able to keep sharing the deck. Here we go. Yeah, but again, let us know if you'd like to take it for a spin. All right, but data import is just one of the new additions that we're going to be adding in terms of how to get more creative with bringing data into Supermetrics or integrating with your data sources. The next one is actually connector builder. So now in the future, rather than having this approach where we offered essentially one style, which was our pre-built data source connectors, we're actually going to have three. And it's going to be the pre-built sources that we talked about first. It's going to be custom data import, and it's going to be connector builder. And what connector builder is essentially a platform for you to build your own data source connections and own integrations into Supermetrics. And that's a huge step for a huge step forward, because in the future we also want to make this much more accessible to our customers as well and our end users. And again, here, JB, maybe you want to talk us through this a little more.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so connector builder. So this is something that I'm, massively excited about. When I first came to Supermetrics, it was, if I'm honest, it was for this reason. This was the possibilities that we can have within the connector builder program to allow, other people, customers, agencies, third parties to come in to build connectors to satisfy their own use cases. That's really why a company like we exist, to allow, yes, we're a product team, and yes, we can build, some good connectors, and we can prioritize the most important things, but you're always going to have specific use cases that we're not always going to be able to attend to. And the best thing that we can do as a product team, the best thing we can do as a business, is enable you to solve your own problems. And this is exactly what you can do with this. And what's actually quite funny about this has been a product that we've actually had for the best part of a year and a half now. And this is because this solved our own problem internally. If you're thinking about all the connectors that we have and that we've built, these have previously been hard coded connectors. So we've had to have engineers who've had to write code, plug into these APIs very explicitly, create custom use cases, ship the code out and test and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, once we start to build out and scale, you start to kind of, start to solve a lot of the same problems over and over and over again. So this is where our Codeless Connector program came from. And we did this internally. So, we actually build these ourselves. So half of the connectors that we actually have within Supermetrics today that are actually used by customers are actually built using the Supermetrics connector builder. And this is actually the first attempt in actually saying, hey, actually, maybe there's value here for customers directly as well. Maybe we can actually push this out, and our customers themselves can actually start to see some of that value. So what this kind of looks like is essentially just the ability to build your own custom connectors. So if there is a data source that isn't available through Supermetrics, but that the data source actually has an open API integration, then we allow you to connect to that. You can connect to that through various different secure forms of authentication. So we allow you to provide that out of the box. And we provide testing and debugging capabilities as well within the connector builder platform. So that allows you to do a lot of kind of back and forth trial and error, test how requests go, make sure you can pick through the responses and see if they make sense. And then you can also manage the builds as well. So naturally, whenever you make changes, and we've learned this the hard way, a lot of the times you can break things. So we have version controls as well. So you actually have the ability where you can create different releases. You can have like semantic versioning in terms of actually having the different releases at different points and actually using different versions within the destinations, which will be coming later down the line as well. So really exciting product. I'll share my screen as well and we go through that, and I'll show you exactly what you can kind of expect. Okay, cool. So in terms of connector builder, so this again, this is in very early stages. So we're very much in discovery. This is very much in prototyping stage at the minute. Like we mentioned, this was an internal product. Everything I'm showing you here has been used internally by our own teams. And of course, they know how to use it because they built it and know and everything like that. For us to take this forward into a product and for it to be used by customers and third parties, we need to make it a lot more usable. That's something that we're currently working on right now. But just to show you kind of a bit of the power that I've actually got with this, when I first came to the business, so I was previously an engineer, so I'm, I'd be a little bit more technical than most, but I have been out of the game for quite a few years, while since I joined the actual product teams. But I was really keen to get stuck into this and actually, find out what this is all about. So my first app that I actually built was actually the Weather API app. And within here, we can see that we're kind of managing different kind of authentication here. So we can actually go ahead and we can actually monitor, we can add in things like API keys. We can actually play around different report types here. So within the report types, we can actually start to go around and understand that we have a live weather report type, of which we can actually then have things like dimensions and metrics. So we can actually go through what different metrics would be. So we could have things like from the response of the API or the weather API, we would have things like the location, the country, the temperature, and you can actually start to configure this. This probably is not making too much sense at the minute because obviously, again, it's going to be a technical product. But under the hood, everything that we have built out is within this kind of JSON format that you'll be able to actually play around with as well. We have a complete schema that you can actually access as well, which kind of instructs you on how to build these connectors and things like that as well. And there's a lot of benefits that we can actually have with this as well. We have different versions as we spoke about, so we've got different ways to modify and add different features. And this is the weather API one that I talked about. And what this allows you to do is then actually build out little queries. So I'll show ahead and show you kind of the weather API and how this works today. So I click into the weather API. I'll select on the live weather. So I'll put in the city. So I'm actually in Cologne at the minute. So I'm over at the Mexico conference. And I will select the metrics for weather. So I'm going to get location, country, and the temperature. And again, this is something that obviously we built completely through the product itself. I didn't get any of the team to actually build any of this for me. I didn't get any of the team to actually ship any code. This is just using pre-built functionality that we've already had that we use to build these connectors, and that now will hopefully start to make available with customers as well. And we can actually see here that, okay, so ignore that one didn't work too well, but it did work earlier as well. So let me try and rerun that one again. One of the funny bits is as well is because this comes live from the data source as well. And I think this would have been because of the actual, let me try the cell. That would have been the data format of the actual Google API itself. So let me just run the same one again there.
The funny thing is, earlier today, JB was worried that live demos are prone to fail, and here we go.
This is what's funny, and that's a funny thing because that was a number that was coming back from the API, but because I literally had the same sheet that was coming through earlier because it was the date format of the column. So this is a Google Sheet fault now, so it's and hopefully this proves it. There we go. So another cell, we got the temperature 25.4 degrees. So it's a beautiful day in Cologne as well, which is really good. But yeah, so hopefully that kind of shows you a bit of the value about that as well. So again, was kind of really excited to kind of just talk about this today because there's huge benefits that are, that are kind of on the horizon with stuff. Like I said, very early, we're still learning a lot with this as well, but really keen to, to get a lot of feedback on this. So kind of, would love to hear any kind of thoughts and comments for that as well.
Yeah, for this one, we don't yet have like beta access available, so we won't be running a poll. Oops, I'm even on the. Why am I showing custom? Why is it showing the wrong slide? Are you seeing the custom data import slide, JB?
No, we are seeing your actual Google slide, but that would be put in slide view.
My bad. So for this one, we don't have. Here we go. So for this one, we don't have a poll yet because it's not ready for public beta yet, but just be aware that this is technology that we're working on. So do stay tuned. We're going to be talking about this more in the near future, and definitely going to be sharing more about this, especially in the community where we have our most active users and people that we think can really take this to the next level once we're happy to ship it. Um, cool. Before we go into the next section, there's a question from Andre. Does the new custom data import feature also work in unattended mode with Supermetrics for BigQuery and run as a Google Cloud Platform transfer? JB, do you know how to if it would cover this case?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So one of the biggest benefits with the custom data import is that it works like any other connector that you would have. Yeah, so you can connect the same destinations, you can set up the same data transfers that you'd have within the data warehouses, and it all just works out of the box. So yeah, the same way that you connect to any data connector today within Supermetrics, whether that being any of the destinations or any of the Supermetrics hub, it will all have the same functionality as well. So there's no limitations there.
Essentially, and for example, for someone like me who's more of maybe a marketer at heart, think just having an additional data source, which just happens to be coming from a file. So it works seamlessly with every other product or every other offering we have in Supermetrics. Good. Well, that's getting data in. Or actually, okay. Hey, there's another question that just came in from Marky about custom data import. Are there any limitations on the CSV files you upload, for example, in terms of rows or columns, JB?
Yeah. Yes, that's a good question. Yeah, so there's no impact in terms of the amount of rows or columns per se. Naturally, the more columns you have, the more kind of mapping that you're going to have to do. So naturally, the experience within the hub might not be as good as as you would hope. But naturally, you'd kind of hope that you wouldn't have such a document of which would have thousands of columns, right? Naturally, thousands of rows would be absolutely fine. And the limitation on that is at the minute 25 megabytes. So we are doing a bit of a work for Q4 to increase that to 250 megabytes. And that will be the file size limitation that will be increased in Q4.
Perfect. Thanks. Thank you, JB. All right. Well, with data import and connector builder out of the way, again, that rounds out how we talk about this idea of data integration at Supermetrics or connecting to data at Supermetrics. There's the pre-built data sources. There is the upcoming custom data import and the fast follow connector builder. So really looking to push the limits of the data that we can work with at Supermetrics and giving you all much more avenues to bring in data flexibly. But with that, let's hop over to platform and data apps. So the way to think about Supermetrics and the way we think about Supermetrics internally is we have kind of the data integrations piece. Now that can go two ways. It can be getting data into Supermetrics, or it can be activating data outwards into, for example, paid ads platforms, custom reporting tools, stuff like that. But then at the center, we have our platform and our data apps. And this is where a lot of our work has been going into recently, is how do we provide more functionality for you to work with and manage the data that lives and runs through Supermetrics. So we have a couple updates on that, and we're going to start with the roles and permissions and workspaces functionality. So obviously, this is something that we've talked about in the past. We're very close to releasing the first iteration of the roles and permissions, and workspaces will be soon to follow. But essentially, this is going to allow you to get much more granular and segment access and make control access inside Supermetrics. This is great, for example, for global organizations with teams scattered around the globe, or for example, our agency customers that want to segment their data work by client, for example. But yeah, JB, again, here, I think you have something to share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, thanks, Alex. Yeah, so again, this is kind of looking back where Supermetrics just came. For those of you who have been been customers for Supermetrics for quite a long time, you'll probably, remember a time where we didn't really have a kind of a console or a platform or a hub, or whatever you want to call it, where we'd kind of go to. Everything was done within the destination. As a business where we want to be destination agnostic, we want to have the ability for, to kind of make the decisions and send the data to the destinations, of course, but we want to allow you to have much more control over the actual, the account, the team, the licensing that you work with. So naturally, the hub is always going to kind of evolve. As we evolve with that, as kind of customers, teams grow as well, there's going to be different use cases that come up from time to time, various different restrictions that you guys yourselves need to place on your teams, and various different kind of roles and responsibilities. So this was always going to be a natural progression. The team have been hard at work, working on permissions and workspaces, really kind of keen to kind of show you what they've been working on as well. And we've got some great updates to show. So let's share my screen again, and I'll show you the different roles situation that we've got going on for now. And this will kind of show you everything in terms of what we've got going on for the permission side. Okay, so we should be able to view my page at the minute. Great. So yes, this is just a team page that we have right now. And previously, before you would have always seen just kind of this role as being like an owner, and we never really kind of were able to kind of evolve kind of much more than that as well. And what we're starting to do now, so coming from October, we're actually releasing 2 additional roles, which are going to be the viewer role and the finance role. And we never really gave information previously in terms of what the roles mean and actually what they actually allow you to do. So we're actually going to start to releasing these different types of roles and permissions, providing a bit more insight in terms of exactly what you can actually do, and then you'll actually be able to actually add different teams onto those accounts, actually assign different roles and permissions under them as well, and kind of just have a bit more clarity about the different levels of access that you'll actually starting to give to your different team members, and then what that means as well. So yeah, so this is going to be coming out in October. So we're going to be start releasing this. So again, yeah, we don't really need any tests of this, but really keen to kind of naturally hear any feedback as well that we'd actually have for the roles and permissions as well. And for the next one, I'll take you through workspaces. So the workspaces themselves are a bit more of an interesting piece as well, because naturally, we're talking about roles and permissions, but we've got one team here. So we're talking about everything in the team context. Now, this is very early, so this is something that we're actually, we'll actually be asking for a bit of kind of support on later on to help us validate a few of our kind of assumptions here, and really kind of help us dig a bit deeper in terms of, kind of, whether this actually does solve a lot of problems. And in terms of what Arena and the team have been working on here is understanding exactly what workspaces do within the team environment. So what I mean by that is when you have a workspace, we're looking at everything now as if we have an organization. So if you think of your team, that team effectively right now is an organization. So I can go into that organization and I can understand exactly who we have as part of the team. And I'll also be able to understand exactly the different roles that each of those team members have. And using the permissions, I'll be able to understand exactly what that team member is able to do. Now, what might change is that I might need to have a further separation there. So, depending on how business is depending on how your business is structured, you might have a need to have completely separate workspaces. So that may be that you're an agency and you have different brands. That may be that you're a brand and you have different product lines, or it might be that you're a brand and you have different regional offices. It completely depends, and it's completely up to you. For this example, that's a great. For this example, we're going to go through Supermetrics FI. So this is going to be our new workspace for Supermetrics Finland. We're going to go through and we're going to add myself to this. And we're going to make myself a little admin here as well. So I can actually make sure that I'm going to add myself as an admin onto the Supermetrics FI workspace. That's going to invite me there, so I'm actually able to actually accept that invitation, and then I'll be able to actually do all the admin capabilities within that specific workspace. But then again, I might want to have a different workspace for, say, Supermetrics US. Within the same vein, there, I might want to actually add myself into that as well. But I'll add a couple of people, so I will add Khan and I'll add myself. And I'll actually make us both editor rights here as well. So we'll add the editor capability. Again, the same email model is going to invite us to actually come along and join. But now we can actually see the separation here. So yes, I might have admin access over Supermetrics Finland workspace and all of the capabilities that come along with that. But under the Supermetrics US workspace context, I'm only going to have the editor access as well. So that's a really good way of kind of limiting, the actual controls that a person may have within a certain workspace, and really start to kind of hit home to the actual separation that you may have within your business as well. So yeah, really keen to kind of get a lot of feedback on that as well. So I believe that we're going to have a poll for that as well. So yeah, hand over to you, Alex. I don't know if you're on mute or just very
Yeah,
quiet.
yeah. Sorry,
Oh,
I was trying to share my screen and unmute myself at the same time. It was like technology just isn't there. So like JB said, this is something, especially the workspaces area, is something that we're still investigating and still developing. And we would love to get some feedback from actual users and customers of Supermetrics. So if you're willing to participate in a bit of user testing for the new functionality, just raise your hand in this poll here. So just tell us, flag that you'd like to do that, and we'd love to get in touch and just have a quick chat, because this is something that's developing really quickly, and we really know that it's going to create a lot of value for a bunch of our customers, and especially if you're an organization that, either like JB was mentioning, either you have different geographies, you want to break down reporting by product line, you're maybe an agency and you want to break down reporting by client. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how you see that looking, so that we can build this thing to work exactly for you.
that makes sense.
um,
Yeah, and worth noting as well. So we do have the PM as well. So Arena's actually on the call, I think, as well now. So yeah, if anyone has any specific questions, she will no doubt be able to answer them much better than I can as well. So this is the best time for you to ask those questions as well. So, and again, thanks to Arena for allowing us to talk about workspace and permissions today.
Oh yeah, and again, so just drop those questions into the Q&A section there. I see that there's a question about custom data import. Maybe now that we still have some time for Q&A at the end, so we'll do this question by Michael at the end. But it is a good question on data import versus data directly into BigQuery. There's a question by Andre actually now on roles and permissions. Isn't the new roles and permissions schema a way to control who can select from the connector account list all accounts? The use case is we would only like an admin role being able to select all accounts. I'm actually not sure if that's the case, but maybe Arena, you can type in there. And actually, if that's not the case, it's a pretty good insight. It could be a way to kind of control how many accounts different users can add. But
Yeah.
I'll let Arena, the PM, answer that, unless JB, you have a take on that.
So I don't have a specific answer to that one, but it's definitely something that we've been chatting a lot about. And yeah, one thing that we've been looking into, and myself and Arena were actually on a call about this the other week as well, to actually look into how can we assign, actual accounts in the context of the connector to, the roles and permissions of the accounts that we have within Supermetrics. So it's definitely something that we're certainly aware of, especially in terms of, the risk around the all accounts aspect, and because naturally it's all well and good as being able to actually filter, different access to, let's say, billing within Supermetrics and things like that. But, if we're actually still allowing them to select all accounts from the connector side because there is a master authentication, that's definitely a problem that we want to solve there as well. So it's, we definitely don't have a solution today, but it's definitely something that we're aware of. And yeah, it's definitely something that we'll be looking to solve for.
Yeah. And I see Arena also answered along the same lines. So not yet, but we're looking into the possibility of more granular control over account access. So good question, Andre. And this is the stuff that we love to hear from you guys about, and why we love talking to you, because this is the type of insight we want and need to really make this sing for you guys.
Right.
All right, but in the interest of time, let's keep going. Michael, have not forgot about your question. We'll get to that towards the end. But let's move on to the data transformations updates. And now the one we really want to talk about here is related to data blending. Now, those of you who use Supermetrics and are on one of our cloud packages and have access to data blending, you will have probably used it in one way, shape, or form. It's really streamlined now, and it works predominantly on a union basis, but we are actually expanding that to provide more functionality around stuff like joins and the ability to flexibly create more advanced data blending. And for here, again, I do believe, JB, I keep going back to you. I promise, actually, I'm going to demo something at the end as well if we have time. But JB, back to you. I know you want to talk about this one too.
Yeah, nothing but a show host token at this point.
Exactly.
That was great. Yeah, no, thanks, Alex. So this one's really exciting demo to show. So I come from, from the actual affiliate world before I came to Supermetrics, and the biggest thing we always talked about was incrementality. And if I hear another person, I'm at De Mexico this week, and I've probably heard incrementality spoke about 50 million times this morning already. But it is a true thing that everyone wants to understand a bit more about. We were never able to solve that, at the last company I was at, mainly because we were one channel. One of the unique capabilities that we have, one of the unique positioning we have at Supermetrics is, we sit across channels. We can actually absorb a lot of this different data from these different channels, and we have the capabilities of understanding this data, building it together to then tell that story, tell that narrative, and understand what was incremental and what wasn't. This is a really exciting product to actually have, and to be able to actually, start the journey on understanding exactly what was incremental and what wasn't. I'm going to show you a very kind of primitive example of this, but it's something that that we'll be able to go through, and you'll be able to understand the power of what this functionality will be able to do, and at the start of its journey in terms of the actual answers that will actually be able to provide to you as well. So all right, I'll share my screen and we'll go through this one as well, which would be great. Okay, cool. So as Alex mentioned, we'll have, if you're part of the cloud package, you'll have been within the data blending functionality. And what he mentioned as well was that, primarily you'll have been used to the actual union type blend as well. So in the situation that, that we've been using this previously, we would want to have different data sources that are actually joining things together, based on the same type. So for example, this one, we would have always done the likes of Google Ads. And let's just say we'll then use, for example, Facebook ads, and then we can actually then start to join these different accounts together. And from this point, we can then add these into the blend. We'll then name the blend as well. And then once we actually name it, we can then get into the actual creation of that as well. So let's just say blended paid media. And once we've actually then viewed this, we can actually then determine exactly what the actual different fields are that we actually want to then blend based upon against as well, and things like that. So if we go into what the data blends that we've got set previously, we've actually only got the paid channel mix, which we set up. And this was our union blend, the same one that we just actually set up there earlier. And then what we've then done now is we actually then got the ability to actually create a join blend as well. So to create a join blend, what we go in and we go into the blend, we click onto join. And what we're doing now is here, we're using a common key to actually then join the data together rather than actually using the common data types to actually just have a union kind of append type data set. What this then allows us to do is we can add our different data sources. So the first data source that we want to have is data blend. And that's because of the actual blend, the union blend that we've already created of our channel mix. And then we want to then go ahead and we want to do another one that we want to connect to. So for this situation, for this example, we're going to go through and select GA4 because we want to kind of understand the actual causal impact that our paid media has had on the actual conversions that we've actually tracked through our analytics engine. So I go ahead, I select our paid channel mix from the actual blend type. We can then go ahead and we'll then select our source from GA4 that we actually want to use as part of this. We'll then go ahead into the blend and we'll then create this. So let's just call it conversion blending. We go into the next step. And here we can kind of pick the join that we've actually got here. So, we've got the left join, the right join, inner join, and full outer join. You can have a bit of explanation about what they are. What we're talking about the left join here is effectively anything in the left table, which our left table is our data blending source. And it must match everything on the right-hand table. Otherwise, it'll be omitted from view. So what we kind of care about here is the campaign name, because naturally this is going to be the key that we're actually going to be crossing between our paid media versus our marketing analytics. And for here within GA, because I know that we use that session campaign name, that's going to be more of the one that we actually want to use. And then within these different sources, we then want to add different fields that we actually care about. So because we know that this is from the paid media blend, we're actually going to want to have things such as date naturally. We're going to want to have the campaign name that we spoke about. We're then going to want to have the likes of cost and impressions. And this is everything that we care about with the paid media. For GA4, again, we care about the campaign name, which was the session campaign name in GA4. And then we care about date, of course. And then we care about conversions. And you can also include custom conversion types as well. So depending on the different conversion events, the key events that you have within GA, this allows you to then use that data within here as well. So I'll then add these fields, and we can then go ahead and we can create that blend as normal. So once I then create that blend, we then have the blend list, and we'll then have everything kind of that's actually joined from there as well. So we called this one last click attribution on the previous one. And what this then allows us to do is we can actually then go ahead and we can actually go and select for this. And for this, we'll actually go to data blending. Similar to what you saw within the custom data import, we actually put the actual type of blend that's available within the actual available blend section. So kind of what we call like our report type. So we can do kind of, the actual last click attribution. And then within here, let's just say we have like a date range here for, the 1st of January, the 1st of February. Let's have a look. So we'll put this up a bit. And that we can have is we can then have the dimensions being the campaign name, and then we might have the actual the date as well. And when we select the metrics, we will then have anything that we want in here. So I'll show you what these would look like. So again, we would have the conversions, we have the cost and the impressions, and then we can also then create a custom field as well, which I'll talk to you a little bit about as well. So once I'm then getting this data, I'll be able to understand a bit more about what this actually looks like as well. And what we talk about as well with the custom field information. So whilst that's running, so we also have this custom field, which if you never use custom fields, you effectively have the ability to kind of append on the end of what these different blends may be and what they kind of represent. So if we're talking about kind of a ROAS kind of calculation here, we have the ability to understand a bit more about the actual cost per conversion. So we can actually start to look at, based on this different blend type, which is last click attribution that we'd already created, we can actually set up a divide function where we're actually taking the data source field of cost. We're going to divide that by the amount of conversions that we've picked from GA. And then we actually have the ability to kind of understand, what the cost per conversion was. And obviously that's including not just Google data, which because naturally Google Analytics could obviously give you that itself, but it's also including all your different paid channel mixes as well. So including the likes of LinkedIn, Meta, your TikTok, your Snaps, anything that you want to kind of include within that cases as well. And you kind of see here what will kind of print out. So that's going to be the campaigns, the cost, the impressions, and the cost per conversion for the custom field as well. So hopefully that really gives a good insight in terms of kind of what the capabilities that you're able to unlock and the different value cases that you can start to understand a bit more about with the actual custom blends and the data blending options there as well.
Very good. Oop, no, I'm sharing the wrong screen again. Hang on. But yeah, thanks, JB. And again, this is something where we originally, when we released data blending, we released a version that was really streamlined and really simple and like very, very quick and easy to set up, but powerful enough to handle a good chunk of data blending use cases. But we got feedback that our customers needed a little more and a little more flexibility, and that's where this functionality comes in. So it is a direct response to all of you guys coming with your suggestions and questions on and input on how to make these things better. So really appreciate all the feedback and support you guys have when it comes to new and novel functionality like this. On this advanced data blending feature, again, you will see a poll now on your screen. This is also getting really close to being ready for beta access. So if you would like to take this one for a spin as well, just flag here, raise your hand, and we'll definitely reach out to you when the time is right. But this is a pretty cool one because it's going to get, again, enable a lot of novel use cases that we haven't previously supported, at least directly out of the box. Good stuff. All right. Well, with that, we can probably go to the last topic. I know I don't know how it shows for you guys, but I just see the poll right now. But I can do a bit of a preamble here. I think the polls are still accessible in the polls tab anyway. So if you have a last second thought that you want to raise your hand, go and do it there. But the last thing we wanted to share with you here today before we move over to kind of just general open Q&A for the last few minutes is an update to the Google Sheets integration that we offer. And now, those of you who have been with Supermetrics for a long time, you probably will have used the Google Sheets product, especially if you're a Google Sheets user. You probably will have interacted with our Google Sheets sidebar in one way, shape, or form. That's kind of the de facto way of getting data into a spreadsheet or into a Google Sheet using Supermetrics. And that product's been around for a long time, but now what we're doing is we're adding incremental updates to make that experience a little better. If you joined us for the last product updates webinar, we talked about the new Home tab for Google Sheets. We talked about suggested queries. We talked about a lot of that new functionality that's there, and we're continuing to add it in. And this time, we've added a feature called Query Insights. Now, this is an AI-driven or AI-generated insight based on the data in your query. So actually, here is where I'm going to get to demo something, finally. Thanks, JB, for carrying the load throughout the session, but I'll go now. So let me just share my demo report tab here. So here, I have a spreadsheet open, so I'll just give you a quick introduction into how this works. So what I want to do here is I'm in a blank spreadsheet. I have my Supermetrics sidebar open. So I'll just do something quick and easy, which is I'll use one of our suggested queries for Google Ads. So that, of course, is going to pop open the query creation view and suggest some metrics and dimensions. Now, this functionality, the Query Insights functionality, is still in beta, so it has some, limitations. One of which is, for example, it needs to have very specific dimensions that you're splitting the data by. So here, what I want to do is use campaign name and I want to split it by rows in campaign name. And when that happens, you see a little Query Insights beta tab pop up. Now, first of all, I'll actually go and because I tried this with very specific date ranges to make sure it's showing something meaningful. So I'm going to go to February 2023, also just so I don't display our live data, our live advertising data on a webinar. I think somebody would have words with me for that. Cool. So we're going to select February 2023. And now, of course, if you've used Google Sheets before, our Google Sheets product, what you would do typically is click Get Data, and that would start creating the report for you. But what I want to do is click on Query Insights. That's going to ask me one more question. So here you have the option to tell it what you want insights on. So for here, it's quite basic for now. I'm going to say that I want, the top 3 campaigns in terms of cost, for example. When I click Generate Insights, what that's going to do is it's going to actually start running the query. So it's going to do that exact same query and bring in that exact same data that you'd be used to if you had just clicked Collect Data. You're going to see that in a second. Boom, data comes in. But what it's going to now do is it's going to continue running a little bit, and you're going to see that it's going to say generating AI insight in just a second. And there we go. It starts pulling up this Query Insight result. Now, the information that it then pings in is coming. Basically, what happens is it gives gives the information to a AI model, and it just pulls out the insight that you requested. Again, it's quite limited right now in terms of what it actually suggests you to do, but it gives you some basic insights. For example, here I can tell quickly that these three campaigns were the highest in terms of cost, and it gives some suggestions on maybe some like what you want to do with that data. I can also copy these results and go to the spreadsheet. I can drop them in here, Now, for example, if I went here, we can just double check to make sure that the AI is not hallucinating. So if I add a filter and I filter by cost, we should see those three campaigns match: Supermetrics, ProdCon, and ProdGS. Well, they're in a slightly different order, but again, the top three spenders. So this way, of course, I can get this information quickly from a spreadsheet like that. But now think, and sometimes you can even eyeball that information from a sheet like this. But now think of a spreadsheet where you have thousands and thousands of rows. This is a quick way to kind of grasp some quick things without having to do any kind of post manipulating of the data. But this feature is actually in beta already. It's available for all Google Sheets customers. There are some limitations, again, on what you can do and how you can use it. We have a support article on it. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post it as a question into the Q&A poll right now. So you see my link there. If you are a Google Sheets customer, take a look at that link. Go and play around with this in Google Sheets and let us know what you think, because this is being developed. We want to know kind of what insights you see as valuable, what you would use this for, and how we can kind of make this, again, work a little better for you guys. But yeah, that's Query Insights in a nutshell. All right. I think we still have 4 minutes. Wow, we timed this to the T, JB. So let
Yeah,
me
no,
get
we did well. We did well. I know. Nice you demoed as well. I love the last demo. You know, I give about four of them. There were the one AI specific demo as well comes in, steals the show.
Yeah,
Great.
of course. That's why I wanted to do that one.
Of course.
All right. Before I have one more like last thing to share with you guys, but before that, we do have a couple minutes here, so maybe let's take a look at a few of these questions. First, there's the one from Michael on the benefits of setting up custom data import in Supermetrics versus importing the data directly into BigQuery. I gave some quick answers there actually, um, while you were demoing, JB. But
Yeah.
at least from my point of view, one of the huge benefits is that when you use custom data import, you're actually essentially you're using that file to create a quote unquote data source in Supermetrics. And that means that you have then all of the other functionality of Supermetrics at your disposal to use on that data. For example, the data blending stuff that JB was showing, the custom fields functionality, other data transformation functionality. You can use that data source and query that data in a spreadsheet or in Looker Studio or send it to BigQuery. So it gives you a lot more to work with when you use custom data import. I don't know, JB, if you have any other takes on that from your
Yeah,
point of view.
no, I agree. I think number one, the fact that it actually becomes a different source in its own right, and then you can use that in any different destination. Probably number two is probably that, you know, kind of BigQuery to kind of some different kind of use cases could be also a little bit complex as well.
Yeah.
So you know, there's always going to be kind of a different kind of you know, barrier of entry for various different products. Custom data import is definitely kind of the lowest because all it needs at this point is a file and an email address. Simple. So yeah, so definitely kind of a, you know, ease of access and the flexibility of being a data source that can be used with all of the other products as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Couple more questions here. Gabrielle asked, is this Generate Insights only for the Google Sheets add-on? Yes, it's currently just a Google Sheets exclusive functionality. Of course, if very likely it will be expanded to Excel. I don't know what the timeline is there, but if you have thoughts on where you would like to have that available, let us know, because again, we're creating these kind of as we go and experimenting, and love to hear from customers on especially on beta functionality like this, where you find this valuable. But for now, only in the Google Sheets add-on. Christina asked, will there be only matching by fields or advanced options as well? For example, I guess this is data blending related. So matching by fields or advanced options, for example, matching by two dates, post date and add start date being close to each other. I don't know. JB, do you have a take on that?
Yeah, for sure. So yes, this one's definitely something of which we definitely should be looking to solve for in the future. For now, it is just a direct kind of a direct kind of a match, kind of a strict type match based on the join. But yeah, there are use cases that that I'm aware of, such as for example, if you have a card linked offer campaign, you want to it's really hard to kind of match up those actual dates, according to when the actual order came in because they don't actually exactly match. So yes, that's definitely something which you need to add a bit of kind of flexibility around. So I think in terms of the use case, for kind of comparing two dates to try and find a balance there, that's something that potentially in the future we could look to. Yeah, like get in touch. We'd be definitely keen to hear that explicit use case in a bit more detail. And then we can certainly pass it on to Mick and the team as well, who's a product manager over this. Yeah, and he'd love to dig into that for sure.
Good stuff. And then I think there's only one more question left unanswered, and we're right at the top. And this one's from Laura. So, do you plan on integrating LinkedIn public data, tracking followers, posts, etc. of any page? Well, we offer LinkedIn a data source called LinkedIn Company Pages, which does track followers and posts. But actually, now that I think about it, that's probably your own pages. JB, do you remember if that's a public data connector or is that just your own page?
Yeah, so I think that is just your own page as
Yeah.
far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a number of public connectors, which takes the naming convention public data. Yeah, so if you're on the Supermetrics connectors page on the website, you can search for public and you'll find all the different public connectors we got there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point. I think in terms of planning to integrate it, I mean, it certainly fits ethos. We have a great partnership with LinkedIn. They're a great company to work with. We already have a lot of kind of other integrations with other public data connectors such as Apple, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, Reddit. So yeah, so definitely it fits a bill. We don't have it right now, but that's definitely something that we can look into and see where it sits. But yeah.
Yeah. And this is why these sessions are good. Good suggestion there, Laura. All right. Well, I think with that, we. Oh, actually, I just have it's being told to me from the backstage that the LinkedIn API might not allow public data if we're not mistaken. So it's something we need to look into. But again, we do have a good partnership with LinkedIn, which means that we might be able to maneuver with that. But something we definitely need to follow up on at a later time. Good. Before we sign off, I wanted to give a shout out that our next session is already planned. So we're going to be talking about the peak season do's and don'ts for marketers. Peak season is obviously coming. Black Friday is actually surprisingly close yet again. But that session is going to be on October 1st. Do join. It's going to be led by Oti, who's one of our marketing industry leading experts, as well as one of our senior solutions engineers in Peter. And I'm told, it's actually on the screen, that you also, by joining, you have a chance to win a Amazon gift card worth $100. So head over to the community and take a look into that and hear from some experts on what you should and shouldn't do during peak season. But with that, thank you everybody so much for tuning in for this installment of our product updates. Again, great questions, great discussion. JB, thanks for joining and chatting with us. JB, any last words of wisdom before we sign off?
That's great. No, absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, I can't take that away from you.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. Thanks, everybody. See you at the next one.
All right. Thanks, guys.